are going to take a call from John, who's calling us from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and listens on Alexa. And we're glad you called, John. How can we help you today?
Yeah, I'm just looking for some advice on direction of the right way to progress in healing. So just a little bit of background. I was in DMLA, the youth organization of Freemasonry, and went through a hazing incident, not very sexually provocative, not unlike probably, tons of people have went through in fraternities in college. And I'm a cradle Protestant, baptized as an infant, and then in 1998 as a believing adult. I was on the East Coast for 29 years, where for 18 years I did have a counselor that is in the New Life Network. And during the COVID early stages, I learned that her close family friend that she identified as an uncle was a Shriner, and her father was a Freemason. The Shriner passed away from COVID. But, what I'm really looking for is if it's reasonable for me to consider uprooting from Protestantism to another branch within Trinitarian Christianity, like Eastern Orthodoxy, that is on the public record as opposing Freemasonry, just because I've tried about, upwards of a dozen Protestant churches here in Fort Wayne, and I'm not on the same page with them as far as, many of them endorse and accept, Freemasonry organization, and I'm
you were impacted by this trauma is impacting your spiritual life as well. John, let's hear from Chris or Sherry and see how we can help you move forward.
Well, John, I'm glad that you called in, because this is really, really, really important, is that when we are harmed by other people, when we are traumatized, and that is represented in a group or a practice, then everything becomes about that group or that practice. And certainly there are very, very unhealthy groups and organizations out there that we need separation and distance from. But John, my thing for you, and I'm going to start on the spiritual side, because that's kind of where your heart is right now, is that you're looking for something outside of you to be that thing that guides you. And what you're looking for is an organization. And I know this is going to sound a little bit preachy, but I want you to go back to the person of Jesus. And I want you to go back and start developing a deeper inner life with Jesus that gives you and through his Spirit, that gives us a greater sense of security and assurance in who we are, that can travel with us wherever we go. That's not just in this group or that group. So I want you to start there. We're going to head to a break here soon. But yeah, I want you to consider that first.
It is very difficult when this happens, but there is hope, and we can find a new way. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Becky Brown. I'm with Dr. Sherry Keffer and Chris Williams, and we are talking with John, who had some trauma and an experience with a church of when he was younger. And Chris, you were talking, but I think
Freemasonry.
Freemasonry. Go ahead.
So, hey, John, my heart breaks for you. I just listening to your story and trying to imagine what that was like to be hazed, sexually hazed, with a group of men in order to get initiated into this group. The feeling of it, the only feeling I can have that's similar would be, some of the people I work with have been raped in a group. And so to have that hazing, to have it sexualized, to have them doing things to you, and that in and itself, as Chris said, is a trauma event. Now, what it sounds like to me, Chris touched on it, and I just want to say sometimes when we have a trauma that's alive and well, it's not healed. It's not healed. It's like that it's like that young college age 19-year-old is driving your bus. And it's like you're driving your bus to different organizations, different churches. And what you really want is a group of people to say Freemasons are horrible. And you want the validation. You want a group validation because that trauma inside is looking for a place to heal. And so the idea is if that trauma can have a group of people from another faith say, yes, absolutely, they are horrible, they do bad things, something in you will feel like it would line up. But the problem is you keep going looking for that because your 19-year-old is driving the bus and that's what he wants. So you're looking out there to answer the trauma in here, where I would start from the inside out. I would do some eye movement desensitization and reprocessing on that hazing event. And I would help you cathartically get your feelings out, your hurt, your anger, your fear. That negative belief is probably I'm powerless, helpless. I can't trust anyone, something along those lines, and then help you move to the other side that you now have choices. Your choices are inside, and that you don't have to keep searching for something outside to match with your insides. Your insides are going to change. That's what I would suggest you do, because we care for you. We want you to land your spiritual plane. Or bus,
and
whatever.
To not be triggered, like you mentioned, John, about hearing that a counselor had relatives in the same organization. That just shows that there's more healing that has to be done. Chris, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to the conversation?
Does any of that make sense,
ahead, John?
Does that make sense in what we're saying?
And
Good.
I guess the wound, the reason it's surfacing, at this late stage is there's a little bit of salt being poured on. My dad's a Freemason, my mom's Eastern Star, and they just recently moved into a Masonic retirement home.
Oh my goodness. My goodness.
And so it's like salt being poured onto a wound. But in Chris's comments about Jesus, I was thinking of him on the cross and looking at his mom and telling John that he was now to take care of his mom. His mom was probably deeply entrenched in Judaism, and had not processed embracing, Christianity with her son dying on the cross. So, I guess Chris's comments about embracing Christ deeper into my life. He hung there and, looked at his mom, and she's like deeply entrenched in Judaism. So he could probably relate to me, whereas others have difficulty.
And so, John, in that, is that we want to go two directions. We want to go on the inside, right? The inside is to Sherry's point, I've got to really work out this pain. So I need to get into a healing process. I need to deepen my intimacy with Christ. That gives us a much stronger kind of core and sense of faith and trust in the world. But there's a really, really important thing, again, that Becky and Sherry are pointing to, and that is God has created us as relational beings. We do not thrive as God intended without it. We can see that, 7 of the 10 commandments don't deal with our relationship with God. They deal with our relationship with each other. So when you have this early experience that to belong, which is a human need, we have to belong, but you need to be harmed, that your dignity needs to be compromised to belong.
Wow.
That gets entrenched. And so you do need to belong to people and belong to a group that accepts you for who you are and will not compromise your dignity to be able to do that. And I just want to tell everyone out there, if there's a group that to belong to them, you have to compromise your dignity. That's not a safe group of people, and they're not for you.
That's right. That's right.
And
That's right.
Jesus hates. He hates that you were hazed. He's not okay with what happened to you as a 19-year-old. And I can just imagine him standing there weeping as that was going on, because he loves you. And he's just not okay with that kind of stuff that goes on.
We're so glad you called, John, and we're going to send you a copy of Every Man's Bible. We'll be right back after this break.